Just to give everyone a context, so for those of us, we use PowerPoint a lot. When we go to online teaching, the student engagement part is sort of weak, right? It's weaker than our physical classrooms. So how do we still engage students in this setting if we are using PowerPoint? So we realized as a tech company, we found out that most of us use PowerPoint. So we'd like to develop some simple to use tool to help you guys engage with your audience. So let me first share my screen, and I just have like very simple video to share with you how it can be used in your teaching. So yeah, so this is our website. The keyword basically is the interactive quiz in PowerPoint. What you can do is if you have PowerPoint slides, you can turn your slides into quizzes without uploading your PowerPoint to any website, right? So you can just very simply turn the slide into a quiz. Then during your class, you can ask the question. So just click a button. So, and then students can use their mobile devices, iPads, or browsers to interact and submit their answers to here. So I have a question. What is your favorite local food? Once I click that, and remember everything here is in PowerPoint, and then students can submit the answers. Of course, later you can save everything. If you're using some kind of whiteboard, you're a whiteboard user, and then we have digital whiteboard embedded into PowerPoint as well for you to use. So I'll just, before my chat with Xingning start, I just want to show you one of the recording lecturer from Malaysia she shared with me. So I'll just show you this.
Welcome everyone. I'm mindful for semester 1, it will be online learning. So I would like to know if you're here in Selangor or if you're in some other places.
Okay. Yeah, so this is
one student from Zimbabwe and it's 4:20 a.m. there. What time is it there in Maldives?
Same as Pakistan, it's like 12
a.m.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy about virtual learning? Okay, so I saw Magat's answer. Come on, Magat, that's not good. I'm not understanding. How much can you own? So, if anyone has any question with regards to mini, mo. Lorenza.
Section of transfer in charge. Transfer the rights to another person.
Okay, great.
Displayed in the shop.
See, good guys. You guys able to pick out all the key issues here. Failure to register it, then you refer to the next link. In terms of if you understand what was covered for topic 2. All right. So the first question is, what is referencing? And the correct answer is A. Board. We have P. Hui Chi. The best in writing your assignments. Woohoo! So I hope all.
All right. So that gives you a snapshot of. I'll just stop here. So just now there are a few questions that the lecturer asked the students. There are multiple choices. There are short answers, there are word clouds, there are image upload. She also used highlighter to mark some of the text on the screen. So these are the tools that you can use in ClassPoint directly from your PowerPoint. So that's why it's an add-on, right? It's not a separate application that you need to learn and use. It's just something extra that you can use inside of PowerPoint. So I think today's main character is definitely Dr. Xingning. So we'll start. I think the audience are eager to know more about you, right? So before we jump into how you practice student engagement, maybe you can say a few words about yourself, especially who are your students? Like who do you teach? And what do you teach?
Thanks, John. Thanks, Jonta, for having both John and I to come on and share how we use PowerPoint to engage our students. So I'm Dr. Yong Shin Ning, and I am a business owner as well as an adjunct lecturer in SMU. So the business that I conduct is Change Voyage. This Change Voyage is conducting a business whereby we help MNCs to manage large-scale transformation. So organizational change in digital transformation, systems implementation, etc. So a large part of what we do is training adult learners in the companies about change management. So as a SMU adjunct lecturer, I teach a variety of adult learners, so ranging from undergraduates to entrepreneurs to business owners. And for the undergrads, we have a course between 3 to 4 months, whereas for the business owners and entrepreneurs, it may be shorter, like 1 to 2 days. So before COVID, everything was face-to-face, physical, offline, whereas since COVID started last year, a lot of it went online, and now some of it is offline as well.
So you do teach a variety of kinds of students, right? Some are like young adults, some maybe business owners even, some are aged bosses. So some courses very long, some courses are just short, 1 day, 2 days. I think the engagement part will be different, right? For them, you have different ways to engage them. Can you share a bit about, you talked about before COVID. So before COVID, you're all in the same classroom. What are the techniques you use to engage students? Let's just talk about without technology, right? Because engagement is a teaching style, right? So let's just talk about that. How do you engage them?
So very simply, I use 3 principles. The first is I talk less. Usually my talking segments, like what we're going to do now, is that I talk at a maximum between 15 to 20 minutes and I stop and we do something else. Because as adult learners, you will lose their attention if one person, the instructor, talks for too long and too much. The second engagement principle that I use is I try to get adult learners to uncover as much as possible what they already know about the topic. This is because the adult learners that I teach, some of them already have a lot of corporate experience or experience working in their respective capacity for a very long time. Even the undergraduate students, they have a lot of internships, so they also have exposure to the corporate world. And added to the fact that, there's overwhelmingly a lot of information in the internet out there, so they already have some preconceived notion of the things that I'm teaching them. So what I do is that I try to uncover them through various engagement techniques, and then I try to put some structure around the disparate knowledge that they have. And the third thing that I do is that I reinforce this knowledge using various interactive engagement methods like games, role play, group collaboration, discussions, etc. So these are the 3 techniques that I use.
Let me just recap. The first technique you use is you talk less and you return the classroom to them, right? And second is you try to use activities to uncover their individual strengths and base of knowledge. Yeah. So because they may from different backgrounds, and then if you just feed them the knowledge, some people will feel bored and some will feel it's very difficult. Yeah. So you use activities like some of the activities will actually allow some of them to teach others, right? Which they feel, when you teach others, you also learn a lot. And the last one is you use like activities, right? So this is pretty much aligned with what we want to do in ClassPoint, because we want to return classroom to the students. Instead of you feeding them what they're supposed to learn, you use activities for them to discover. So it's their own learning, you're just facilitating, right? So now I think, I don't know the situation, how different it is for you, or is there even any difference because you have all these pedagogies and styles. Can it be applied to online teaching? Because we're all teaching online and you cannot use your body languages and the usual way to engage students. So I guess all of us use technology, EdTech now, starting from very simple, we use Zoom, Microsoft Teams, but apart from that, what else do you use? Like, especially, I know you use ClassPoint a lot. I also observe you, how you use various technologies. So I think this is the most interesting part maybe of the sharing. You can share with the audience, how do you use various technologies through online teaching? So maybe we start from ClassPoint and then you can also mention other products you're using as well.
Yeah, thanks, John. So maybe I take a step back and explain what were the issues that I faced when I try to engage students based on what I meant, the 3 points that I mentioned, particularly point number 2 and number 3. If all of you, you're experienced trainers, and you would be familiar with the situation where we try to engage students with post-its, right? We want all the students and learners to output what they know or brainstorm, and we get them to use post-its. But what's wrong with our good old post-its? They fall off the flip charts. Yeah. Okay, I think I need somebody to mute because I keep hearing myself. Thanks. So flip charts, it's small and they fall off easily. So it's very difficult also to retain the knowledge, as well as in a big room for people to see what each other have written. So I face this problem using post-its. The other thing that I face is when I get learners to engage, to output more, the old method is, hey, John, you have a good idea to share, please share. Okay, and John says something. Or a very zealous learner will keep raising his hand and say something. But the more reserved learners, or the learners who require more time to think about what they want to say, may sometimes lose out in terms of being able to share what they have to say. So I have a logistic issue, which is the post-it and the flip charts. And I have a learner issue, which is I can't get enough, or I can't get everybody to express what they know. So these two problems led me to explore the use of technology, so EdTech in particular. So therefore, even in the offline world, I was already actively seeking for technology which can help me to engage more learners, to get them to output more, as well as to manage the content that is generated by the learners better, which actually led me to John. And I'm so glad I found his product. So these tools that I'm going to share with you in a minute allows me to engage the students better, and I'll demonstrate using some screenshots that I've actually created. So if I may, I will share my screen now and show you how I use ClassPoint. Okay, so I predominantly use three tech tools. The first one is ClassPoint, and for those of you who saw the video, you will see roughly how ClassPoint is being used. But what actually happens is that when you launch your PowerPoint, you will see the toolbar right at the top there. So you have you can do multiple choice, word cloud, etc. So you just embed directly into the PowerPoint. So I'm going to show you how I use these functions, these three top functions that I use almost in all my classes, whether offline or online. So the first thing that I always use is I use multiple choice. So it's something that you saw in the video. So multiple choice, so you can just type the questions in, and then you can launch the button. So when you launch the button, what does it look like? People will be able to respond to the quiz, the multiple choice, and they can see the correct answer. So then I'll debrief the answer there, and I will show correct answer. But if I wanted to add a little bit of competitiveness, and you maybe think, oh, competitiveness is only for like young children. No, it works very well with adults also, and it spices up the interaction. So with the leaderboard, then you can see that who has the fastest finger, who can react. And the good thing is that you can also see who are the people who got mistakes in their responses. Although I use it sparingly because I don't want to name and shame, especially adult learners. Yeah. So sometimes I will look at that because I can retain the knowledge. So I can save it. You can see at the right-hand side, you can insert slides and you can save it. So I will go back and review who are the people that didn't really get the concepts right. So this is the first thing that I use, and I use it very frequently. The second thing that I use is I use the short answer function. So the short answer function it allows people to key in free text. So in this context, I use the example that I'm sharing with you can be used offline as well as online. I use it offline when I'm in a smaller classroom when there is no flip charts. So I just need to get people in the team, 7 or 8 of them, to have a quick discussion and post up what they have discussed. Okay, so not very long, and I don't require them to say a lot of things. So I will launch it, and then basically they can use their mobile or they can use their laptop, and they can key in the answer. So I expected one answer from each team, and everybody can see the answers that comes out. Okay. So in this class exercise, I had 6 teams that were doing it. And after everybody is done within a stipulated time, then what I do is I will insert the answers into the PowerPoint. So by inserting the answers to the PowerPoint, I can do 2 things. The first thing is that I can annotate on the PowerPoint itself, and it can directly debrief the students as to what went well, what didn't go so well, what were the things that they understood correctly, and what were the things they did not understand. And the second thing that I could do is that I could return the knowledge to them. So they could actually see, so after class, I would typically return or send the PowerPoint to them for retention so that they can clearly see and remember what were the comments that I had made or what were the feedback that other people gave to them. Okay, I'm going to go to the third one, and I'm going to take a pause because I said speak less, right? So I have to practice what I preach. So the third one that I use is an example of how I use it in the offline class. So in the offline class, so recently I was teaching a series of adult learner sessions in very large hotel rooms. So the hotel ballroom function room, right? Because we need to have social distancing. Because of that, if you are in one corner of the hotel room and you write in a flip chart, and when you try to present and debrief, people on the other end can't see you, even though they can hear you. They can't see what you wrote. So what I did was I used the image upload function. So of course, this is on PowerPoint, and I put it out in the instruction right at the beginning. And then when I click image upload, the students would be able to directly upload their image, and it will show in the PowerPoint directly. So then what I can do, so I have 7 or 8 images, and I will flash it up on the projector right in the front of the classroom, and I will then critique and debrief it. So everybody can see big and clear what each other wrote. Okay, so we got very, very good feedback for this because people can see, and the engagement is better because people can see. Okay, I mean, it's simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take a pause.
You know why I got the idea for image upload activity exactly because of this activity. Because when I was a uni student, we always have teams, right? Every team has a whiteboard or flip chart, and we discuss and write down stuff on it. And then the lecturer always have to let everyone go to one flip chart to look at, and then move to the next group, move to the next group. So it's very, I mean, if there are many students in the classroom, I can't even see the text on the flip chart or whiteboard, right? And furthermore, nothing can be saved afterwards. Yeah, so by letting them submit the images, we can display them big and nice on a big screen, and then they can all be engaged because they can see the information clearly. So actually that's a story behind image upload. It's used not just for adult learning, for K-12 as well, because you can always take a picture of your worksheet and then submit, and then teacher can save it as a slide and then draw on it to comment, right? So I think I saw one question in the chat. So where to get the add-on? Right, I'll just type the website in the chat, and then you guys can go there. Before we move on, if any one of you have any questions, you can just ask us, verbally or in the chat, and then we can address the question immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, John, I can also share how I engage my learners using other technology,
Yeah.
not PowerPoint related, but it's something that I use as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other tool that I always use, I'm not totally sure whether it qualifies as learning tech or ed tech, but it serves my purpose. So I use Google Slides, and typically I would have 6, 7 teams in my class with 5, 6, 7, 8 people in a team. So if I were to get them to engage in longer discussions, meaning that they need to fill out slides, what I'll do is I will host the Google Slides on Google Drive, and then I will create templates. So you can see here, maybe you can't really see what is it yet, but basically I'll create standard templates. So you can see here that I have created a standard template for group 1, and then I replicate the template for group 2 and group 3. Okay, so when I kind of like break people out into their breakout groups, whether online or physically, everybody just goes into one single document for to do their discussions. It's helpful because when I want to debrief, everybody is literally on the same page. So there is no need to toggle here and there, and I can kind of scroll up and down and debrief and call out those groups that understood something well, and I want to use them as a highlight, as a case study.
Yeah, I think Google Suites, I feel they are very good for collaboration. Even for Google Docs, I use them a lot because it's so easy to have multiple people collaborating on one doc compared to Microsoft Suite. Yeah. So maybe if you guys are using Google Slides or Google Suites, you can put a reaction there, or put a smiley face or put a yes. Yeah. I think we can see one raised hand. SLC 10. Maybe you can ask your question.
Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Yong.
Hi.
Yeah, so when you use the Google Docs, which I do use similarly, a template to the breakout groups, is it one template for all groups, or each one has one template?
So I replicate the template. So for example, in this example that you see, the green ticks, the green tick is one set. So I replicate the set 3 times.
So the 3 groups have the same template.
Yeah.
So when they share, when they go into their breakout groups and they go into Google Docs, other groups can also see each group can see what the other group is doing?
The short answer is yes. Therefore, I use this when I don't care about privacy between the groups.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So where I care about privacy, then I will create one template per team.
Right. My experience is that when we do that, some groups will just sort of look at what the other group is doing and then sort of replicate their answers as well.
Yeah, so this is very interesting because yesterday I just had a session. We did the same thing, and then we said, "Hey, do you copy? Your answer very similar." And the team member came out looking very tired, say, "Hey, prof, no time there, no time to look at other people what they are doing because the time given to me is so tight." Yeah, but yes, there's definitely a risk of that. So what I do is I will then go into their breakout rooms to make sure that the discussions are actively going on.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just curious, you use Zoom more or Teams more?
I'm a Zoom person. I get lost in Teams.
In SMU, is there any standard apps that all you guys use, or you're free to choose whatever you're comfortable with?
Okay, the SMU provides us with corporate accounts for both Zoom, Zoom, WebEx, as well as Teams.
Okay.
So, but the default, and sometimes students will invite me using Google Meet, but I predominantly use Zoom.
Yeah, I think Zoom interface is most straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see from the chat, there are a few of you wanting to see a live demo. I think after our chat, if we still have time, we can do one, very short one. Yeah. I think for adult learners, collaboration is such a key element in your class, Celine. Apart from Google Suite, is there any other collaboration apps that you're using to engage your students in teamworks?
Yeah, so the last and final tool that I'm going to introduce today is Padlet. So I use this also a lot. And in fact, I use it in all my sessions, whether is it online or offline. So not sure if everyone is familiar with Padlet. So basically it's, and I'll show you a screenshot in a while. So, oops, I'm not moving. Okay, so how the process starts is that, of course, I will give instructions on the PowerPoint. So in this case, I'm teaching a change management course. So I get people to break up into 4 groups to write down what they think are the drivers of successful and unsuccessful organizational change. And then I give them a link to go to this platform called Padlet. And Padlet looks like this. So you can actually organize it in various ways, but what I do is that I set the team. So I set group A, group B, group C, group D, and I allow them to just brainstorm. So it's very good for the discovery part that I mentioned just now, to get people to just output whatever they know about the topic without any concern that whether it fits or it doesn't fit into the framework that I'm going to teach them. So I just set out 4 top banners, A, B, C, D, and I just get them to do whatever. And I then ask them to go for a short break while I do magic. So what magic did I do? The magic that I did in the break is that I created another 2 more columns here, right at the side here, if you can see. So there were originally 4 columns, and in the break, I created another 2 more columns. But these 2 more columns are actually the framework that I'm trying to teach them. So organizational change readiness, just as a bit of background, is driven by the people as well as what we call the infrastructure. So it's things related to the organization at large. So in order for me to explain that whatever, they can give me 100 points, right? But all the 100 points will fit into the framework nicely. So this is how I then, originally when they started brainstorming, there was no color coding, but over the break, after they went out, I color coded every single one of the responses that was given so that they are clear how does whatever they have said in the Padlet then corresponds to the framework that I'm trying to teach them thereafter. So this is how I typically use Padlet, and it's also in situations where we can't be bothered about keeping things secret because everybody can see each other. But it's very good for debriefing, especially when we want to compare answers across groups. So that's all I have to introduce of all the technology that I've been mostly using.
I see Padlet used a lot in local higher ed institution as well. And last time I went to your class, right, you were using a lot of color codes in Padlet. For the rearrangement, right, only you can move the posts, or anybody can?
You can set the access rights for them to move the post.
Oh, I see.
So
for
you can,
well, right?
yeah. So for various things, like you can see that there's some heart shape down here, right? For them to vote, to like it or to dislike it and stuff like that. So you can set access rights accordingly.
Okay, cool. That's a pretty mature system that you can use to assist you.
Yeah, and it's pretty versatile as well.
Right. All right. I think before we jump into, maybe you have some time for ClassPoint demo and Q&A. But before that, maybe I want you to conclude some of the best practices for online teaching or for student engagement. Yeah, anything that you can make your students more successful, right? In terms of learning and in terms of lesson participation. You want to share with the audience?
Okay, so I think this question allows me to conclude what we have been sharing. So if we kind of take a step back and understand the context that adult learners are in at this juncture, firstly, a lot of information is readily available over the internet. So a lot of people think that they know a lot, but actually maybe know too much. The second thing is that adult learners have a lot of experience already. So this is the background and this is the context. So what is the challenge to myself and people like you on the webinar is that you need to teach enough because people already have a lot inside here. So you need to know how much they have inside here so that you can teach them enough. So it's just like Goldilocks, right? Not too hot, not too cold, but just nice. So this is the first challenge that I think instructors face. I think the second challenge is how do you harness the collective wisdom of people in the class? Because as I mentioned just now, right, we all come from different walks of life, adult learners. Our experiences may not be homogeneous, especially the public courses. And even undergrads, they go to a lot of internships, so they see different things and they are from different disciplines. So how do we get that out to be shared across the class? So the instructor no longer becomes like an expert teaching you, but we are more like a facilitator of knowledge sharing as well as a coach to encourage self-discovery. So just on that backdrop, right, the best practices to me, there are two. One is how do we get people to have self-discovery in a guided manner? I emphasize guided because if there's self-discovery without any structure, then the so what is lost. So self-discovery is important for the instructor because then we know how much do we need to teach and as well as for the students, how they can relate to the new content. As for the second part, which is the engagement between the learners, it's important for the method to be able to facilitate learning between learners in a guided fashion. So how these translates practically is based on all the things that we described just now. So how do we get the edutech, the LearnTech, to get more people to engage and output more in a structured and guided fashion?
I just want to add on that this principle doesn't only apply to adult learners. For ClassPoint, we have 60% of users who are in K-12. And even for my daughter, she is most engaged when she is learning herself rather than listening to someone, right? So although she doesn't know a lot and doesn't have a lot of her own opinions, but this learning process, she feels that she's owning it, she's controlling the pace, she's learning with the peers. So even collaboration ideas and teamwork work for very young children as well. It's just a human nature, in my opinion. And as teachers, I think the old teaching style is more of a teacher center, and now we'd like to call ourselves coach, right? Because a coach always has the ability to look at individual students and find out what each of them are strong at and weak at, and always strengthen their strength and then help them with the weakness. Every student is different. So by allowing them to speak out, to participate in activities as a teacher, we know more, we understand them all more. Instead of, you just open Zoom and share your screen, you don't know anything about your students, right? Even whether they are looking at the screen, you don't know. So that's a pretty sad situation, especially for online teaching, that you're speaking to a vacuum. Some teachers do describe it that way. So we don't want
Yeah.
that to happen. Yeah, so I can see some, there's a question from Jonta. So Jonta, you want to?
Yeah, I can
explain?
verbalize it. I'm always curious about like the challenging case studies, because normally I think all of us here in the audience, we are quite, some of us are adult educators ourselves. Me excluded, I'm just being a staff here in IL. But I'm interested to hear about, like, maybe you have a hostile learners or something very memorable who pops up in the past, and what exactly are the sort of like advices, or in fact things that you discovered by integrating LearnTech to increase the engagement for this hostile learner, if there's any. Yeah.
Okay, I don't have like a specific memory of one hostile learner, but I can answer this question in terms of, in general, how do I deal with hostile learners? So I think that it depends on, the approach depends on whether my engagement with that learner is for a longer period of time or it's very short. But both requires more personal engagement and interaction. So for example, the undergraduate students, I think the challenge when I do online Zoom sessions is that I can't really sense them. So I can't really sense their body language and how they are responding, because a lot of people, right, sometimes they lie on the bed to learn, and or some of them just switch off the video and stuff like that. So it's very difficult. So sometimes when they ask certain questions and stuff, you don't really know where they come from. So when I do one-on-one consultation with them, so as part of my program, I have a dedicated group consultation where 7 to 8 people in the team turns up. So at that time, I will try to strike rapport with them and ask them how things are, or how did the interview with this person go. So I make sure I get to talk with most of them, especially those that seem like they need some additional attention. I think for those shorter courses, sometimes so again, you don't know. If it's physical, you know. If it's physical session, you know. If it's online, you don't really know. But so online, if the interaction is shorter, there is less things that you can do about it. Whereas in the offline physical session, then during break time, I will go and have a chat with that person to understand, okay, so why are you here? What is it that you want to get out of it, and things like that. So to get to have a personal rapport with that person.
Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe just a follow-up, if it's possible, I don't want to get into trouble. Perhaps the audience here can role play as the learner in one of your classes, and then maybe there's a slide that's already existing in the ClassPoint or PowerPoint that you have ClassPointed, and then we can just role play as a learner to find out more about the platform. I think that'll be great as well. But just a suggestion.
As a learner, not a difficult learner, I think John would be able to do that later, right? To interact with the ClassPoint.
Yeah. I'll just create a few slides, and in fact, I can share my screen now, and then we'll just talk as I continue, as I make some slides. So.
Okay, I see another question from Ping Yao. Is that something in the text chat? Lonta, can you just help me see the question? Ping Yao, would you like to?
Yeah, I was asking how to get to know the audience of the strength that John was talking about, that you talk that teaching is only, if the teaching is only for a short time, which I think you covered a little bit just now. You said it's a little bit more challenging in a short time. Yeah, so I guess it's how to harness your participants, I guess, like you say, the experiences and knowledge, I guess, in terms, if it's a course is quite short, how do you get to find out, and also how to get engaged.
Okay, maybe I can give a couple of specific examples. So one course that I've been teaching since August last year is the SG United Business and Digital Transformation Program. So it's a program for adult learners who wants to up their skill level on how do they help companies, plan out their digital transformation journey. So it's a 9-month course, and I think the face-to-face training sessions is about 6 months. There are 28 modules. So I teach 3 modules out of the 28 modules, and I teach the first module, 4th module, and 28th module. So in this context, right, what I did first is I spent some time asking them what is their background. So we have people who have only 2-3 years experience, and some who are 50-60 years old. Average age is pushing 50. So first of all, I needed to understand their background. So I spent some time getting them to introduce themselves. If I can't get everybody to do it, because there were like between 20 to 30 people, I would break it up. So I would also have games that is interspersed during tea breaks and stuff like that to get people to talk a little bit more. Okay, what is this input to? So as one of my lesson was thinking about how do you build a business of the future. Okay, so and I needed them to brainstorm on how do they transform like mom and pop shop in terms of like maybe hairdresser, those traditional masseurs and things like that. When I understand their background, then I can better, relate their experiences to what they would be working on as their teamwork. So that was how I managed to connect what they know or what their background with what they will be doing. And also as I teach, right, because I know their background already, as I teach using ClassPoint, I will say, hey, Mary, you were working with Rolls-Royce, right? Can you maybe give us some idea of how this was done in Rolls-Royce, for example? So this was how I then engaged with the audience. So I was very fortunate that I was able to teach the full course for this program face-to-face. So I think that helped in me being able to get people to output and connect with what they know already.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think
just
maybe
to add on, as a learner, I was in this training, 2-day training. It was a leadership training. So there are 30 people in there, and a trainer, 2 trainers actually. So the way the trainer broke the ice and get to know all of us was to design activities, discussions like exactly like what Xingling just mentioned, to throw a topic, which is an interesting topic, and then divide us into teams. And then we discuss to know each other. After that, we present to the other team. So after that activity, we open up, and then we know a lot about our own teams. And then another activity, we will swap. So then we will know somebody else. So after half a day, we almost have we make friends already, make other people, 30 people we didn't know before. So that was a pretty good engagement technique, I think. Even can be used for very short courses.
Yeah, maybe I add one more example, which is a pure
just...
online. Sorry, John, maybe I just add one more example of a pure online, very short time frame session. So in such a session, if I have a lot of people and I don't have the luxury to just keep asking each one of them, what I get them to do is to write stuff on the Padlet. So I will say, okay, describe who you are, what your expectations are, and what is your superpower. So I get like maybe 3 to 5 people to talk about who they are and their superpower to ice break over the course of maybe in the beginning and tea break up to lunch. So by doing it on Padlet, I can also track who I have asked, and people visually have an anchor to remember who these people are. So when I don't have a lot of time, I use Padlet to retain that knowledge and to facilitate the interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Xingling. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so this is PowerPoint interface, right? All of us are familiar with it. And then once you install ClassPoint, it will appear as a tab. In here, you can register your account. So you can see all the tools just now in the screenshot Xin showed. So these are the activities. So let me just design a slide. So what is your biggest challenge in online teaching or training? Okay, so this is my question, and maybe I want all of the students to open up. So I'll just add a short answer question. So here I can set some of the options. So maybe I will just hide the name, so make it anonymous, right? Sometimes you make it question anonymous, it helps people to open up because they know they won't be judged, right? So this is one of the features we have. You can tick that, and I can even do a countdown or something. Let's just do a 1 minute countdown, and that's all. So when you have a slide and you have an activity button, when you go to slideshow, before I start this activity, I'd like to invite all of you to join. So the way you can join is to go to this URL. You can scan this QR code. You can either scan QR code, or you can just type the URL and then there's a class code. If you scan QR code, then the code will be filled for you. But then in the join page, you also key in what's your name, right? Feel free to use any nickname, and yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so just take some time. Usually at the beginning of your class, you will have some icebreaker questions, right? Definitely. So you ask them to join first. We support up to 500 participants, but usually our class is not that big, 30, 50, And then as the trainer, I can see all your names in here. For K-12, there's cases that as a teacher, I do want everyone to use their real names. So I can close off some name and then ask the student to join with the real name. I can do that. And then, of course, I can start new class, and then here's the class code, and there's the number displayed in here. So this is the number of participants in the class. So next time when I start a class, I don't need to open this and wait for everyone to join. So you can just close that, and because the URL never changes, right? It's just the classpoint.abb is a URL. And then they just use, every time the code will be different. But again, you don't need to decide what is the code. The system will assign it to you. Okay, so I'll just close this. If you still want to join, it's just the classpoint.app, and then the class code is in here. So I have this icebreaker question. What is your biggest challenge in online teaching? I want everyone, the technology will allow everyone to speak, right? Whether you want to verbally speak or not. I think texting on a chat is something super easy. So once I click on this, the question will start. And then you see a text box. So if I want music, use the music. So every time there'll be a random music. If I don't want, I can just mute the music. All right, I can also hide the responses, but as icebreaker questions, it makes more sense to display. Okay, Wi-Fi issue, yeah, technical issue, I like this, all right. And then engagement with trainees, yeah. Then it will, okay, so now this is a counting down. If you want to create some excitement for your learners to type their answers quickly, you can put a countdown. But in case you need more time, you can click on this. So I'll just add some time. Every time you'll add 15 seconds. And now here you can really take a look. If I didn't make this activity anonymous, then you will see the names, right? So engagement, well, looks like engagement is a pain. Yeah, boring, same as engagement, right? Keep engaged. Yeah, no learner reaction. Yeah, maybe you can ask them to turn on their videos, responses. Yeah, so how to make sure the learning efficacy is there. I think that is one of the biggest challenges, and technical issue is another, right? So just in terms of the feature, you can scroll and see all the answers, and then you can click in. I cannot see the emotion of a learner. This is really good. Yeah. So short answer activity is one of the 5 activities that we have. And at the end, if I see all of you already submitted, what I can do is close. Yeah, so once I close, nobody can submit answers anymore. And then I can show my liked answers only. If I mark some of them as liked, I can show this. Maybe you can use the like function differently, right? So you can use it for a certain purpose. Doesn't mean they are the best answers, right? It's just like Xingning's color tagging. You can use that the same thing. And then I can save for review. Save for review means I save everything in there. Of course, you can still ask the question using Zoom chat, but after the session, you will lose everything, right? But if we do this in PowerPoint, you won't. If I open this again, and then I can see all the answers. This is in my slideshow. If I go back to my edit mode, I will be able to see this as well. So that is one of the type question. Yeah, if you have any question, you can just type into the chat or raise your hand and just speak. And how can we let the response roll automatically? Okay, if you are at the end of the scroll, it will always push automatically. But if you scroll back a bit and look at one of the previous answers, then auto scrolling will stop, because we don't want you to look at something and then suddenly push out, right? How can students view others' responses? So this is a feature we're adding for collaboration, that you can allow a student to view others' responses after he submits. So after the student submitted, he or she will be able to see all the other answers and be able to thumb up, meaning react to other students' answers. Currently, we don't have that. Currently, it's just a submission. Okay, so that is a short answer. So maybe I have some examples in here. So this is for all the question type, right? It's so easy that you just start with making the slide. After making the slide, you add a button. So for slide drawing, I added a slide drawing button. And if there are any options, you can adjust the options. So what does slide drawing mean? Slide drawing simply meaning you send this slide to your trainees, they'll draw something and then send it back, right? So let's just continue in here. So this slide drawing, you can draw anything, right? Draw a smiley face, draw a funny face, draw an alien, anything. Right, I'll just start this, and on your browser, you should be able to see. Okay, this is wait, annotation from Zoom. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so this is something that you can draw. You just click the open slide and you can draw anything. And sometimes it's up to the trainer to make it interactive and interesting, right? You can ask interesting questions, and you can see this time I didn't hide your names, so your names are displayed in here. So sometimes the question is not that sensitive, or even it's better for them to see others' names, and you can do this. Yeah, so you can see if my scroll bar is here, actually you will not be automatically pushed because I may be looking at this. However, if I move this to the end, then it will start to push if there's a new answer coming in. Right, so that's the behavior. And then I can use the music if I want to. I just close that. And again, I can save everything. Just remember that everything that I'm doing right now is inside of PowerPoint. It's not a separate app, right? Okay, next we have the image upload. This is one of Xingning's favorite features, right? So image upload meaning you can upload some image either by selecting an image from a gallery or by taking a photo. In future, we'll add Google image search as well. Yeah, so let's just run this. Don't worry about what image you upload, just take a photo or choose a cute image and submit. And then your image will appear in here. Right, right? So this is a fun activity as well. Maybe at the beginning of the class, you can ask them to upload a selfie, take a selfie and submit, just to get your class started. And then for group discussions, you can take a photo, and then I can display this. So let's say this is a flip chart. It's so nicely displayed, everybody can see it very clearly. If I want, I can download this. So how do I download this? As I click on this button, this slide is actually saved, this image is saved as a slide. So if I want to use anything to circle something, I can do that, right? So this is annotation. I can choose different pens to comment on student answers. And that is what the instant feedback is. When learners are learning, they want to get instant feedback. And this is how you can provide instant feedback for them. Like a like button. Yeah, we'll be adding a feature so that you press like, the students will get that like a sticker, right? So we're doing that. Again, you can close everything. And then multiple choice, let's just go to a multiple choice because that is, okay, let's run this. This is a cool icebreaker question as well. So what are your favorite local food, right? It's a word cloud. Again, it's an excellent icebreaker question. Just type in something and then submit, right? Chicken rice, yes. By the way, this is a cool feature too. I can click on this and see who submitted and who is pending, right? So sometimes you have, just 1 or 2 students who needs help actually, and then you can go and check out who they are and go and help them, right? So this is a fun way to brainstorm. I think all of you are familiar with the concept of word cloud. It's just we just make it so accessible inside of PowerPoint directly. Yeah, so you get a good idea what are the favorite food among Singaporeans. Let me just close that. I can even highlight top answers, right? Is this as expected? Or I can save this slide. If I really like this, I can save as a slide as well. This is the beauty of integration with PowerPoint, because I can always save a slide, and then I can show this to the class, because after the session, I can very easily just push all the slides to all the students. So let's run the last is multiple choice. I mean, that's just the most common question type. So when I start, you can see the question slide and you can see the options, right? So just select one of the options and then submit. So in here, we're displaying the numbers as well as the percentage. Yeah, so multiple choice, you can do it as a poll, or you can do it as a assessment. Yeah, for assessment, you can set some of the questions as competition mode. So if it's competition mode, not only you have to be correct, you also have to be very fast, right? Because if you are correct and fast, you get more points. Then that's how we calculate and generate the leaderboard. So you can see, yeah, correct answer is BD. You can select multiple correct answers. So let me just go back to edit mode, and I will turn this multiple choice into a competition. So here's a competition mode, right? When I click on this icon has changed to a trophy. That indicates it's one of the competition question. You can set unlimited number of multiple choice as competition, and then the leaderboard will show you accumulated points. But for now, we only have one question, but we can still run the competition. So I'm going to start this question one more time, and this time you already know what are the correct answers, right? So we'll see who have the quickest fingers. So we'll just start there, and please. Ooh, wow. Yeah, best to have some music as well. So music, they're randomized randomly select to be as the background, but you can mute it. We are developing a way for you to select music, or at least shuffle the music Yeah, we want to add some elements of the unpredictability so that it's more gamified. Right? Every time you go in, it's a different. It looks different. Even the loader will look different. Yeah. Okay. Let me close this. So as usual, you can show the correct answer. But since this is a competition question, I can see a leaderboard. So with your students, you can just go in and see, who are the top players. We're displaying the top player, and this is just one question. So everyone is, as long as you're on the leaderboard, you're 100% correct. But if I have 10 questions, who will be the leaders? Yeah, you can use the competition question to link your class. I mean, after a few slides, you have a question. After a few other slides, you have a question. So this will allow your students to be hooked, right? Because we have this competition, and no matter it's adults or young children, they all like competition. It's just a gamified experience. Okay, even insert this leaderboard as a slide. So, and then after that, you can send this to your students, right? So it's fun. Other features like a pick a name. Yeah, so this is something that we want to enhance as well. Right now it's a lucky draw. So if I want to pick someone to answer my question, and I don't want to be the bad guy selecting the names, all right, picking the names, I can let computer do that, right? City, right? So City is a lucky person because you're the chosen one, yeah. So I can do some other name as well. I can reset, I can close this. I can also track who participated in my questions. For those of you who are using pen tablets, we have whiteboards. So there are whiteboards, there are background, so blackboards. Even if you teach business, you can do a SWOT analysis as well. So this is a customized background you can use, and then you can select a pen. I'm on a touch screen, but better if you have some sort of stylus, and then you can do a whiteboard, but let's just do a blackboard. Okay. Let's just do this, and then after that, when I exit my slideshow, I can always keep my ink annotation, and then they will appear as slides. They'll be saved as slides, and then at the end, I can always send this to students. So how do I send this to my students? Very easy. I have a share PDF. Once I click on this icon, the whole deck will be processed. It takes a few seconds, and then we'll generate a QR code for you. For those of you who are already connected in my class, you don't need to do anything because it will just appear on your browser. So have you seen a pop-up? If you have seen a pop-up, you've got the PDF. You just click on open PDF, and then you've got everything. So again, this is an example of instant feedback because we don't want to send the students the slides another day or tomorrow by the time they already forgot what they learned, right? We want this feedback to be instant. So after that, you can just press one button to send this to them. If this is for those of the students who are not in the class, they can just scan the QR code. It will do the same thing. Yeah, so this is how you can quickly share your content as well. So I've covered some of the features in ClassPoint. It's not complete, but it should give you a quick get started view of how it looks like and how it works. So I guess you should be able to create your own slides very, very quickly because it's just very easy to use. Yeah, to get started, you can just go to our website. It's free to download and just try to use it. Let's see if there are any questions.
John, every time I see you demo, right, I learn new things.
No, you are so professional already.
I think we only use very specific functions for our own context.
Yeah, so I like talking with educators like yourself. So I always have chat with you and survey you guys, ask all kinds of questions. And then from what you tell me, we will incorporate that into product design. So we make sure whatever that you use is the feature that you need, rather than something we force you to use. So by the way, about a ClassPoint training, right? If you want to get a training, actually in Singapore, our training partner is ITE. There's a skills future course on ClassPoint. So if you just go to that course, the course is 70% subsidized by MOE. You just go there, you pay 30%. But this 30% can also come from your Skills Future credit. So actually it's free. And then if you take the course, it's a certificate of competencies. You'll get a certificate and 1 year of ClassPoint Pro. Yeah, so if you're interested in that, you can, I'll just put down my email. I'll use the ClassPoint email because my colleagues are watching this email address. I
think there's a few more questions got buried, so I'm just gonna bump it up. Is there a feature on ClassPoint so that it allows other students to view their peers' responses instead of seeing it on the main screen?
Yeah. Just now I answered this question already. We are right now no, but we are adding this feature for voting.
Okay.
So for voting is when you, after you answer the question, you see other your peers' answers and you can vote, upvote and like.
I see. And then when is the last version update? And then what is the expected sort of like the next feature to be released from ClassPoint, if there's any?
Okay. Yeah, when you download ClassPoint, it's always the latest version. ClassPoint can do auto update, so no worries on that. And next features, we're adding some of the very useful tools, like new activities we'll be adding, a more sophisticated whiteboard we'll be adding, and then we'll be adding a cute timer as well. And then we'll enhance the pick and name experience to make it more gamified. So gamification is the next element that we want to add, because just now I shared, right, 60% of our audience are K-12 students, K-12 teachers and students. But adults also like gamification. There's no reason why adults don't like gamification. It's just we don't like childish style, right? We don't have any plan to make the interface look like a primary school. But this kind of instant feedback, right? This is fun element can still be inserted for adults.
Okay. The next question I have here is, you show us just now with the QR code the ability for students to save the responses. So the responses saved, is it their own or like everyone else's, or is there a
the QR code is the slide deck, the whole slide deck. So the slide deck will include your original slides, your annotations, your whiteboards, and the student responses if the instructor choose to save. Yeah, so if the teacher saves, you will get it. If the teacher doesn't save, you won't get it. Yeah, so
it's not to the slides itself.
Yeah. Whatever display on the slides, you will get it.
Okay, so that will basically answer the next question, which is like, if the responses are downloadable, is it in what format? Is it an Excel or the data? But just for this case, it's just slides.
Yeah, so for the competition, we allow you to export CSV. After that, you can do another processing, sorting, or link up with other activities. But for all the other activities, they are natively saved inside the PowerPoint. So inside PowerPoint, you just go to that slide, you can always open up and see the student responses. I saw a question like where can activity design be saved for future, again, like Mentimeter. Yeah, so the questions are just like slides. A quiz slide is no different from a normal slide. So if I share this just now my slide with Jonta, you can teach it, right? Because it's just part of the PowerPoint. And then you go to my interactive slide, one of the interactive slide, you click on view responses. You will also be able to view response from the audience today because I saved it. So file sharing it's very easy to understand. It's just a local file I share with you, and then you get access to everything, as long as you also have an account. So this is helpful for your co-teachers. You have a co-teacher, you share this file with him or her, and they can open and get access to everything. How can you reuse an activity? It's just like reusing your PowerPoint slide, right? Yeah.
I think maybe, John, if I could add, right? So if you already saved your responses in that particular slide, actually, you can clear response very easily. So there is a button for you to clear all response so that, the past responses don't then mix up with the current responses.
Right. You can clear individual responses for an activity. You can clear all responses for all the activities as well. we have just now, when I save for review, the button changes from blue to green, right? So green indicate there are data saved. And then if you reset, it becomes blue again. Yeah. Is there a spin the wheel feature? Yes, we will add that as one of the feature in pick a name.
Okay. Yeah. One of the questions that is raised, which is quite interesting, is it possible to link this to Kahoot? I want to expand this a little bit. I'm guessing there are people who kind of like using other platforms, Kahoot, SurveyMonkey, and basically they're putting a lot of effort to create a nice quiz. Is there like sort of an import button, or like to make the workflow, change your workflow easier, or is it like a manual copy paste for now?
Hey, this is a good product idea. This is really good. Importing. If the question can be exported from Kahoot as a CSV or something, then definitely we can process, and that will be a very powerful feature. So I would check on Kahoot or any other like Google Forms or SurveyMonkey. Is there any way to export your question? If you can export into a common file format such as a CSV, then importing will be quite easy.
Yeah.
I want to ask one more question. Okay, let me just share my screen. Yeah, it's cool because I can directly ask a question in here. Right, so maybe I want to ask the edtech software we use in class. And then this is gonna be a word cloud. Yeah, so see, creating a question only takes a very short time. And if I want right, I can minimize this. So the question was the edtech software you use in class, whether it's Zoom or Teams, right? Video conferencing, but they could also be like Kahoot, Mentimeter, or quizzes. Yeah. So when you minimize activity, when do you minimize it? When you don't want the students to see each other's submissions, you can do that. And but you still reveal some information for you, number of responses you receive and the timer. So I can click back in and then you can see this, right? So I can see all the tools that you're using. But the good thing is, it's not like a chat, which I can't like have a way to summarize, right? Or save. This is a lot easier. And then remember how quickly I managed to create this question. Yeah. Okay, I think while this question is going, we can see, is there any other questions for me to?
Yes, so I think if one of the, Josephine asked, is there what's in the ClassPoint Pro, which means the difference between free pricing and then the tier pricing. And it means with Dr. Yong is it sufficient for the free pricing, or you have jumped to the Pro already?
So yeah, I remember there's a question in the chat whether ClassPoint is a freemium. Yes, it is freemium. So when you start, everyone will be on free, and then free has some limitations. It's just for starters, or if you teach a small number of students. So it has a class size limit of 25. If you teach a pretty small class within 25 students, you can just use the free. And then I guess in that case, you won't have a lot of questions also. So we also have a question limit for every deck, PowerPoint deck, to be 5. So basic limitation is 5 questions and 25 students. And in the Pro version, it will be unlimited questions and 500 students. So if you need the Pro, it's more of a quota thing, just like Zoom, 40 minutes quota. And then for you to use a leaderboard, if you want to export CSV, that's also only available in Pro. We are adding more features. So for Pro account, there will always be more and more features added to the Pro. So if you are on Pro, you can get more features added pretty quickly. Yeah. For free, we also don't want the free version to be very, very limited. So we will guarantee you can still have about 80% of the features. for seasoned users, for professional users, if you want to use it a lot, you can go Pro. And it's just for annual subscription, it's $9 a month. But of course, if you're in Singapore, you can take the IT course, Skills Future course, and get it for free. Yeah, so I can close submission and show the top answers: Kahoot, Zoom, and Padlet. Right. All right. So look at this button is blue right now, but if I save for review, then it will go green. And here you can see view responses. So that is the 2-button state. If I go back to my edit mode, and if I send this slide to any of you, not any of you, you need to have a ClassPoint account. So if I send this to Xingning, she opens this deck, she can see exactly what I can see. And if she click on this button, this view responses, if I click on that, if she clicks on that, she will see this as well. Yeah, because it's saved inside of the button, although she's using another account. And then I can insert a slide also from the edit mode, so you can see a slide is created. Now, if I want to, okay, just click on this again. If I want to reset this question, I can delete the responses. Or if I want to delete all responses, I can do it in here. I'll just quickly demonstrate. I don't want to delete all responses. Okay, so delete this one. It goes back to blue, indicating that this is a fresh question. Yep.
Okay, so another feedback, I guess, question is that when will this be available in Mac OS?
Okay, that is a question we asked Microsoft, because as an add-in, it's not up to us to decide everything. We and Microsoft must agree on what they allow developers to do. So they do allow this kind of interaction to happen on Windows, but not on Mac. Unfortunately, we don't see, unless they will release in future some kind of SDK for us to work on Mac, it will be a bottleneck from Microsoft. Yeah. Same thing happened for iOS. So Mac OS and iOS version of PowerPoint will not be able to use ClassPoint. You need to have a PC.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a mind map feature? I think that's one of the questions.
Mind map? No, there's no mind map. Yeah, because the size is not big enough. We thought about a feature like after submitting the short answers, then you can move around and draw lines, and that is a very excellent feature from Padlet. So if you want to do that, please use Padlet. We're not trying to replace Padlet, because Padlet is more for collaboration, and ClassPoint is more for classroom engagement. So if you heavily rely on collaboration, Padlet is still the recommendation.
Okay. Yeah. I also want to debunk some of the myths. I think we spoke about this, Dr. John, when I asked about the system resources. It's because normally in Microsoft Office 2000, if anyone here is old enough to remember that, any add-ons is normally clunky and cache PowerPoint at random. So if you could just share maybe the system resources of your laptop now.
Okay, so this I'm using is Microsoft Surface, but we obviously tested a lot of laptops. You guys can test as well. So how much resources we use, right? Depending on how many participants you have. So that's why we put a limitation of 500. So if you have participants like 300, 400, then you definitely slow down your system. But for Xingning, I think you have like, what is the maximum number of students you have in class normally?
45.
Yeah, 45, 50, and that is a common number, way below the threshold. It won't do anything to you. You should still be very smooth experience. Over the years, Microsoft also improved a lot in terms of supporting add-ins like us. And we are building a new version, which we don't want to support Windows 7 anymore. Yeah, so the new version will support only Windows 10, because after we check, only 7% of people, 7% is in Singapore, but worldwide there are 15% of Windows machines are still on Windows 7, but all these are, most of the reasons are because they have some software installed which is not compatible with Windows 10, so they cannot upgrade. But those are not our target. So if you're using Windows 10, I can assure you the experience should be good enough. Yeah, and it will only become better and better.
I haven't had ClassPoint crash my PowerPoint ever, and I've been using it for very long. For the 45 people that I always use for,
Yeah.
Never an issue.
If you found any crash, don't forget to tell me, because that would be a good news. Yeah, we can fix it.